Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the special meeting on July 11th, 2022. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Clerk will read the notice.
We're going to take a roll call
Yeah,
first.
do that first.
Okay. Councilman Gary Donovan,
Councilman Gary Donovan, Councilman at Large, present.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor,
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, Council at Large here.
Councilman Ron Quagliani,
Councilman Ron Quagliani, Council at Large, and I am here.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky is absent, Councilwoman Melly Garthwaite is absent, Councilwoman Sarah Acrobali,
Councilwoman Sarah Acquarelli, 3rd District present.
Councilman Mitchell Galagnano is absent, Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton,
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton, present.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker is absent, Councilman Victor Boris is absent, Councilman Robert Bruno is absent, Councilman Stephen Johnstone,
Councilman Stephen Johnstone, 10th District, present.
and Chairman Peter Massaro.
And Chairman Peter Massaro, President, 6th District Councilman.
And we have a quorum.
Good.
Mr. Chairman, and I will read the call, okay?
Mm-hmm.
West Haven City Council, notice agenda of special meeting, July 11th, 2022. Notice, in accordance with rule number 11 of the rules governing the actions of the City Council, Chairman Massaro has called a special meeting of the West Haven City Council to be held at 5:30 p.m. on Monday, July 11th, 2022, at the 3rd floor City Council Chambers, City Hall.
Thank you, Stacy.
Very welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
before we enter into the Finance Committee, I'd like to make a motion to amend the agenda to include the Finance Committee report under Council as a whole before the ARPA update.
Second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Abstentions? We're good. Thank you, Councilman Quagliani. Okay. At this time, we want to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of June 13th, 2022.
Motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any discussion? Abstentions? Passes. And we also like to approve the minutes for June 2027, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Now I'll turn it over to the Finance Committee to handle Sarah. Councilwoman Sarah Acabella is gonna do Communication L, which considers of the Local 1198 contract.
Thank you, Councilman Massaro. The time is now 5:35. The Committee on Finance is now in session. Members present are Councilwoman Hamilton, Councilwoman O'Connor, Councilman Quagliani, and myself, Councilwoman Acquarelli, acting as chair. We have before us tonight Communication L from the June 13, 2022 agenda from Mayor Nancy R. Rossi regarding the tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and West Haven Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 1198, AFL-CIO. I would like to open this up to the Finance Committee for discussion. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second? Thank you. Is Chief Trenzio here to talk about this?
Just text him, see where if he's coming.
With the attorney.
He's supposed to be here.
Oh, yeah, or Attorney Hodgins supposed to talk
Lee?
about this as well.
You texted him?
You did?
Lee?
Oh,
Did anybody text?
no.
I just texted him. I asked him, where is he? May is resumed.
Hi Lee, how are you today?
Good, how are you guys?
Very well, thank you. So you're here to talk about Communication L from the June 13, 2020 agenda.
Yes, so you should have, all the materials we think are relevant, materials consistent with what would go to the MARB concerning this, settlement agreement with the fire union in Allentown. I will summarize, the larger points. So wages, we're looking at 2.5% increases for each year, beginning July 2022 and continuing every year annually until July 2024. Here, unlike the police, we're looking at stipends. These will not increase the salary. So we have stipends for EMT and paramedics. We're on the contract. The firefighter contract.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not it's their wage increases, right? 2.5% added to their wages each year. Yes. And so their stipend, is not an increase to their wage increases. They have a savings on the state partnership plan. There's an increase on the uniform allowance. There's a wellness gym. We added Juneteenth as a holiday. We cleaned
Now,
up.
I just have a quick question, Lee, I'm sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
Does the stipend or not the stipend, I'm sorry, the uniform allowance, is that something that they can get a buyback for? Or do they have to use that in their, do they actually have that as a stipend? Is that like worked into their
No,
salary?
they have to prove what the uniforms, and the uniforms are pretty fixed.
So they have to use that for their
Yeah,
uniforms?
Yeah, it's even fixed where they can get the uniforms, so.
Okay.
They're pretty.
I just
fixed
wanted
and stuff.
clarification
Yeah.
on that, thank you. Also, the HSA plan is turning now into the Connecticut HEP partnership plan.
Yes.
Is that something that already went into effect on the 1st?
No, we delayed it 1 month,
Okay,
so it will go in, we anticipate it would go into effect August 1st.
okay, so August 1st would be the date?
And that's a savings for both sides.
Right, correct. And it looks like they would save quite a lot from the switchover.
Yeah, we found everybody, we haven't had a lot of complaints about groups that are in the partnership plan, either in terms of service, provider, or the monetary end.
Right. Okay. And does anyone on the finance committee have any questions? For Lee? Councilman Quagliani?
Thank you. Chair, so, Lee, I don't know if it's for you or I see Mr. Jackson's here, so any of the increases that we TA'd are in the budget that started July 1, like, they're just, wages, uniform. We've allocated for that within the fire department's budget for starting July 1, 2022.
Yes, and the finance office provided you with an analysis.
Yeah.
Going out further. So we want you to have the same analysis that Marv would have for your approval.
So who did this analysis, the one that says cost impact of contractual changes?
I would credit the entire finance department, but I think it was primarily done by Mr. Taylor. Yes.
So-
Mr. Taylor's a consultant that was recommended by Marv that we've been utilizing in the finance office. He's a West Haven resident.
So do you have this same sheet, or does Mr. Jackson have this sheet? I just have a question on the sheet, but if neither of you have it, then.
I don't have it in front of me, but I might be able to answer the question even without it.
Well, it says, it's titled Cost Impact of Contractual Changes, and then it gives you the FY '22 budget, the FY '23 budget, and then savings / increase, I guess is what the parenthesis is. So it tells us, obviously, from '22, to 23. There's gonna be an increase because of the wage increase, I understand that. Education, there's a small increase, I understand that. Uniform allowance seems to go down from 28,000 to 12,000, and I didn't know where that figure came from, because ideally, I don't think the uniform allowance went down.
No, it went up.
And then the pension, increased pension cost, FY '22, 2.5 million, FY '23, 2 million. So it looks like we decreased the pension contribution by $500,000. If I'm reading this correctly, so if,
Yes.
again, I don't know if you could opine on this or not, but,
Why we decreased the pension amount?
yeah, it says, and I'm not quite sure, is their pension part of their bargaining unit contract, or is it a separate document?
They have a separate pension, just like the police.
Yeah, so I don't know why that would be in here.
I would think their pension contribution is going down because actuarially, are the actuaries telling us that it's gonna go down? Without being too more morbid about why that would be?
Yeah, no, I understand that, and if it has no bearing on the contract,
I don't think it has any bearing on the contract.
and then the last line says, move operations employees to Connecticut Partnership Plan from current HSA. FY '22, 413,000, FY '23, 442,000. So by migrating them from their current plan to the new plan, it costs us more money?
Yes, but it would've cost a lot more money to keep them in the plan they
Right.
were, and they had a high deductible.
Right, so that's not a fair comparison. We would
No,
need the number
yes.
of next year's HSA plan,
We're
right?
factoring in rate of increase in determining the savings.
So the rate of increase is determining the savings of what they would save with the new plan?
What they would save and what the city would save, yes.
Okay,
I mean, there are increases as high as 20% on healthcare costs that we're finding, both in the public and the private sector, on premiums, so. The partnership plan is definitely helping us right now on that.
okay,
It's a smaller level of increase.
Correct.
that makes
I'm
sense.
good, thank you.
I would like to open the discussion up to the whole council. Does anyone on the council have any questions for Lee? Councilwoman Gary Donovan?
Thank you, Tim. Just to reiterate what Councilman Pagliani said with that. So the uniform allowance went up, what? should it-
$100.
Huh?
Went to 500 from 400.
The uniform allowance?
Correct.
So the budget 28,000 for 22 and the 23, it says 12,000 here. What should it say? That's what I'm asking.
I don't think he got that wrong. I'll have to check with Mr. Taylor as to why
Well,
that
so-
number seems
So
to be.
that would have went down.
I would think unless he's got some other reason why, you know, I can't think of how that would occur, because everyone would use their uniform allowance, so that does not compute to me. So that figure may, have to slightly go in the other direction.
Yeah, because then it says savings increase, it says increase by 4,100, so didn't know if that was a typo, if that's something that
Yes.
needs to be looked at, so. It's not gonna make or break, I just,
No, but I think, given that I'm here and you're asking that question, regardless of the vote, I will email the chairman as to what that is, just so you have some peace of mind on that area.
yeah, so. Thank you.
Any other questions? Absolutely.
I believe the budget amount is accurate, I just think this overview
Yeah.
is not.
Yes. I think he inverted his figures,
Okay.
but I don't wanna speak for him.
Okay.
Hey, I'd like to bring this out favorably to the Finance Committee for a vote. Do I have a motion?
We
Oh.
did that already.
Yeah, it's
No,
just all in
that's-
favor.
Well, now it's gonna
So
be
all
an
in
all in favor.
Okay. Any,
Just say all in favor.
all in favor? All in favor?
Committee
Aye.
only.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries.
And, Mr. Chair, because of what you just did, I just wanna highlight something. We're increasing the minimum manning to the amount we should always have been at. So you're a safer community by your vote. We're increasing it to 6 from 5.
With the safer
Did you get that? Grant,
Yes.
we got it?
Yes.
Great. Okay.
That it?
Alright.
Oh, you gotta close the committee.
Yep.
Thank you.
Absolutely. The Finance Committee is now closed at 5:48 PM.
Hey, Councilwoman. I'll have Ken come up, right?
Agbarelli.
No, we're gonna, so we're gonna enter the council as a whole, and then we're gonna call for the, finance committee reports. And then we're gonna have Ken come up,
All right.
okay? Council as a whole is now in session,
All right, council as a whole is now in session.
and the first order of business is the finance committee report.
First order of business is you, Sarah, again.
Back to you.
Back to you.
Back to me.
Yes.
Okay. Do I open it back up or
No, you're
Just
just
a-
gonna do the
do
resolution.
the resolution now? Okay.
Are we gonna vote on the whole contract?
Yeah. And the whole council votes on it now.
Okay, I'm going to read the resolution for Communication L to the Honorable City Council of the City of West Haven, your Committee on Finance, to whom was referred the matter of the tentative agreement between the City of West Haven and West Haven Professional Firefighters, IAFF Local 1198, AFL-CIO. Reports to the committee met on the 11th day of July 2022 to consider said matter. It is the unanimous opinion of the committee that the following motion be presented. Resolved, that Nancy R. Rossi, as mayor of the city of West Haven, is authorized and directed to execute and deliver any and all documents related to this resolution on behalf of the city of West Haven, and to perform all acts and things which she deems to be necessary or appropriate to carry out the terms of such documents, including but not limited to executing and delivering all agreements and documents contemplated by such documents. The undersigned further certifies that Nancy Rossi now holds the office of mayor, and she has held the office since December 3, 2017.
Thank you, Sarah. Sarah just read the resolution for the contract for local firefighters 1198. Do I have a motion?
A second.
Yeah,
Need
she
a
made the
second.
motion.
Oh, second.
So, okay, Councilman Donovan.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes unanimously. Here.
I know. Okay, so now
Council,
now we're gonna have Ken Carney.
Mr. Carney, you're up for the ARPA. I have paperwork here.
Hello, everyone. Good to see you guys and ladies. I've been asked by a few council people to talk to UHY and ask them specifically about the rules for funding for police, fire, and the Arts Center. I do have here an email. So this particular email from Jack Reagan from UHY says that police, fire, and public safety employees are specifically covered, are a covered group of employees allowed for additional compensation, payroll, and other benefits under the American Rescue Plan Act. And it goes on to describe, some of the rules. So what happens is, when other individuals come before the council and say things are not included, it triggers the use of resources that are limited, and we want you guys to have all the proper information. Here's a further breakdown of EMS pay. And this handout is typical that you will see for every project. And it explains in greater detail exactly how they're covered. And then we have one for the Arts Center, and again, you'll have one for every project moving forward. So as promised, anything that the council approves goes through this process, and we get this synopsis as to how specifically ARPA funds are gonna pay for that project. Now, we haven't gotten through all the projects, and you may hear me say to you someday, this project's not approved, okay? But in this case, the Arts Center is specifically approved, as is the premium pay for fire and police. In fact, I've been told that those three tasks fit specifically under the ARPA rules as they're written from the Treasury Department.
Ken, personally, thank you for doing
It was important to me
Appreciate it.
because, again, people come up here and they give
Absolutely.
false information, they bang their fist on the podium, and it's all false. I don't know where it comes from. But, you know, we're doing everything in a transparent manner. We are taking every project that you approve, we're running it through the rules. They're producing pages like you see here with information that proves that the ARPA funds cover that project. We're putting it out to bid. We're doing everything properly. So, yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Ken. So, and we know that people come to the podium and they say all sorts of stuff, and it, you know, gets our antennas up. One of the things I was wondering, and I thought I heard from the podium, so forgive me, not that the ARPA funds would be jeopardized. How about the funds of the art center that were got, you know, that I think Representative Boer got? Is that jeopardized?
My understanding is no.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
My understanding is no.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Ken, sorry, it's just been a long day. So,
Yeah.
so I appreciate this as well. So in my mind, and listen, you know, I could say the same thing. I've looked through, I haven't read cover to cover, but I've looked through the 437-page final rule, right? And it gives, it appears to me, and I even tabbed the rule where the Art Center, the FD, hazard pay, and the PD comes into play. So, that being said, I'm not an expert. You're not an expert. We're not experts. So, at the end of the day, we still have the consultant and the ARPA attorney that reviews these to make sure that we're in compliance.
And that's the
correct?
paperwork you got tonight, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
So we'll see that. I also noticed that certain projects, depending on where they fall within the guidelines, require a written justification. So I guess my question is, and I don't know if you could answer it, is the written justification submitted as part of the quarterly submission of the projects and the completion status? Or I would imagine that's the case. I don't think that the government is gonna ask you to submit these justifications and then we have to wait for an approval.
I don't know how much of that information will be submitted at our report come July 31st. But the accounting firm and the attorney are working on that report. And you'll get a copy of it. Now, I do understand that there are two buckets of money within the ARPA funds. The first 10 million requires far less reporting. And it's been told to me by UHY that we will move some jobs around within those buckets of money to lessen the cost of reporting. And they're gonna do that, the numbers don't change, but which part of ARPA they're funded out of will change.
And every project that we approved or continue to approve goes through this same review, right?
Yes, sir. Yes.
And we'll get these same reports back when you,
Sure.
when you update us?
I think you'll see them several ways. I think you'll see them in a meeting like this, a report like this. I think you'll see them if you come to the ARPA meeting, and I think you'll see them in the quarterly reports.
The other question I want to ask you, and I know we had an offline conversation, is about the timeliness of posting the expenses to the city website, if you could comment on that.
So, right now, we have approved 2 invoices that I don't think have been paid yet, for asbestos discovery work on the Johnson Community Center. That's it. We have not gotten any other invoices, in front of our committee. We don't have any invoices from the attorney or UHY, so we're down to 2 invoices presently. Now, my goal was to, as those are paid, put them on the city website, which is not an easy task. So what I've now instructed is UHY to create a much nicer website and have a link from the city website. And what I envision is there'll be a bar graph showing next to each job, and that graph will be highlighted as to the percentage of completion of that job. And when you hover over it, the paperwork I just gave you will appear on the next page for each project, and that'll be available to everyone. And that's something that we cannot do in the city website, but we can do it with a link to their website. So we're developing that right now.
And total money received to date of the total?
Last I heard, we were at 24 change with 5 million coming in, but that was a while ago. I think we may have gotten the 5 million, but I don't know for sure.
Thank you.
That-
Yep.
I was gonna quickly run down the jobs, if that's the projects. I'll start with A1 Food Bank Support. So far, we have received 3 applications for money for food from 501c3 charities. I have instructed 2 ARPA committee members to go to each location, do a further study of their request, look at their operations, come back and report, at which point we will weigh the requests and take it from there. Okay. A5, pocket parks, trees, and open space. So it turns out there are 18 pocket parks citywide, and the goal would be to invest money in every one of them. In order to do that, we need some more manpower. The accountants and the attorney have told the ARPA committee that we can increase Ernie Torelli's hours to an additional 12.5 hours and pay that out of ARPA, and get him an assistant at 17.5 hours, and together they will actually visit each site like they're doing with the sidewalks, and they will manage that process. We also would ask the council to look at the parks in their district and send me any thoughts you have on it. That's kind of a big job, and the more input we get, the better off we'll be.
I have a quick question. For each of these projects, we do have a list of them and what they're gonna look like. But are we gonna have an estimate of where each dollar amount is going to each project, so we know exactly where the money is going into every single one of them?
Are you talking about the 20 or so tasks you've approved, or specifically the parking lot?
The ones that we've approved.
So you approve them with a budget. When I come before you once a month, I'm gonna bring you bids. I'm gonna do that tonight. And I'm gonna ask you to either take back money that we don't need in that bid,
Okay,
or take money out of contingency to further fund that.
so it'd kind of be like a line item list of
Yeah.
each dollar amount.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
Yeah, the goal is when you go to the website, or you come to a meeting like this, you'll know exactly where every dollar is.
Awesome, thank you very much.
You're welcome. Moving on to the Johnson Community Center. Had a meeting with O'Riordan Lagani Architects on site. We met with Beth Sabo, Janet Madigan, Tom McCarthy was there. I had Doug there, and we spent about an hour and a half walking the site. And we have a proposal of $56,850, which represents roughly 8.5% of the total bucket of money that you've approved to remodel that space. We think anything under 10% is a good deal. That proposal not only includes the redesign of the elevator, the redesign of about 15,000 square feet, but also includes CA work, which is the architect coming in and actually running the work and making visits to make sure everything's done to the specifications. So we're happy with that. That $56,850 is in front of the ARPA attorney. They vet all these contracts, they make changes, it goes back to the architect. Those changes represent to protect the city, and then it goes to the mayor's desk for signatures. So that's where that is right now. Once that job is complete, we will be able to move the seniors down a floor. They'll have more space. We'll have an elevator that won't have issues, it'll be rebuilt, and it'll be a much better environment for them.
I had a question. If there's any money left over from what we allocated to this, can that money be used for programming for the next year or two for the seniors?
So the way it works is any money left over goes back into your contingency. The council controls that contingency. You as a council would have to approve where that money goes and then give me another directive.
All right, thank you.
Moving on, the Child Development Center. Again, the asbestos testing has been complete. We have Antonazzi and company working on a new design for a new roof. Their fee is under $10,000, and we think we'll be in budget on that job, no problem. Next, I have the stormwater management. We are developing an RFP now to go out to bid to have a engineering firm come in and take a global look at the city and its needs, and come up with a plan so we can spend those funds. A2, child pedestrian safety. So we've started the sidewalks. And I just want to bring you up to speed on this. So if you look at the first page of this invoice, the good news is Elm City has maintained their numbers from their original bid from last year. Come November, those prices will go up substantially, okay? The bad news is we had allocated for this portion of the work $39,208. And what we found is that when we started the work, we had several sections of sidewalk that cracked next to the new sections that we were working on. We could not get the proper pitch to code for the ADA ramp, so we had to replace additional concrete to make that happen. And we had a large driveway apron that we were working over, and that driveway apron fell apart when we worked over that. So we have an increase here of roughly $9,000. And we think it's gonna continue like that as we work on these various projects. If you remember, I'd given you a report, 3 pages, showed you every area we're doing. We think we're gonna run over, as a guesstimate, about $50,000 to do all the sidewalk work. Now, that $50,000 is not gonna pay for the work that's already included in the scope I gave you. It's above and beyond work that we're discovering in the field. We would call it a contingency for the sidewalk work. So, as I've said in the past, as these projects unfold, I will come to you, I will ask for funds out of contingency, or I will give you money back to put in contingency. In this case, we're asking for $50,000 to supplement the sidewalk work. If we don't have that money, we have to shorten the scope of work, and the last part of it would not get done, because we can't leave the beginning parts against code or unfinished, if you will. So we think we need another $50,000 to finish the sidewalk work.
So Ken, we allocated, just so I have the sheet here.
409.
409,541.
Mhm.
Right, so based on all the work that we base that number based on the work that you that you've already put out, or that Elm City was gonna do, right?
If I could just add to that. So
Yeah.
what we did is we sent Ernie out, he did a survey, he counted up the panels, he's actually got a folder for each section. As the work is being done under the less expensive contract, the city's still getting a great deal, other panels are coming into play. As one issue. Second issue is we go to install an ADA ramp down to the street, the pitch isn't right, so we gotta replace all the panels that are actually in better shape, we gotta replace them to get the pitch, and then we have this apron issue. So I don't expect that every project will have all that, but in the older parts of the city, I think we're gonna experience that. And, that's where the extra 50 in contingency comes in.
So doesn't the city have other funding that typically is earmarked for sidewalks if we didn't have ARPA, like, LoCIP money or?
They do.
So do we already have a bucket of LoCIP sidewalk money?
They do, and they were able to do a lot more with that because of ARPA money. So they stayed away from the schools this year, they stayed away from the areas that ARPA's doing. And what my concern is, and I've said it from the beginning, I don't wanna come close to mixing LoCIP funds with ARPA funds. So if I'm doing a sidewalk with ARPA funds and I got 2 extra panels, the last thing I wanna do is bring LoCIP money in and do those last panels because, with the same contractor, because it gets really messy billing wise. I'm trying to separate those two. So it's not uncommon. You do a sidewalk, we're gonna replace 9 panels, 10 panels are no good. We do an ADA ramp, and we don't have the pitch to meet code, we have to do additional panels, and that's what's happening in the older part of the city.
So what would you say, how, the percentages of the project that's completed already?
If we look at my report, well, actually, we're about 12%.
So I'm trying to figure out what the appropriate process would be that I would be comfortable with, cause we're at 12%, we're gonna, and I understand your explanation, sometimes that happens, right? But we could, I don't know if I want you coming and asking for money 6 times,
Right.
so,
There's another play here too. The contractor would love not to finish the job. He's doing it almost at cost because he's doing it under the old price. The problem I have is as he's doing a section, we get a phone call, Ernie runs out there, he confirms we need another $2,000 or $3,000. I gotta give an answer right on the spot. Now, if I don't have the $50,000, I have to take it from Haley or Pagels, which is the last areas we're doing, in order to cover, in this case, Washington or Peck Avenue, Savin. I really need that contingency money so I can tell them on the spot, move ahead. It's all documented, we give you pictures. But it gets messy without the contingency money.
so can you provide us something that, what you think an overall contingency should be for this project, and then we just, because at the end of the day, whether if you don't use it, it goes back into contingency, right?
Correct. I'm asking for 12% to be readily available in the form of $50,000, so I don't have to come back here every 2 weeks and ask for another $5,000 or $10,000.
So this is $50,000 for the rest,
Correct.
you estimate
The-
for
the
the
whole
rest
thing.
of the project.
Well, listen, I estimate that, but I mean,
Right.
I might need 30, I might need 60. Right now, I'm telling you 50 will get me through the summer. If I need more, I'll come and tell you. I'll bring backup. If I don't need more, it goes back to you.
Well, listen, I'm sure, I don't wanna talk for my other council members, but I'm sure that listen, sidewalks it's like road paving, right? So I would think that a homeowner, they see that you're replacing or you're adding a sidewalk, and then you stop at a panel that's cracked or in disrepair, and the first thing they say is, well, how come you didn't fix this? Because there's a crack in it, there's a trip hazard, or whatever else, but especially handicap ramps, like ADA access, curb cuts, those are so important, and I understand they have to have the right pitch on those, so, you've broken down in detail what you've done so far. So me personally, I don't particularly have any problem with assigning a contingency to this project, as we're gonna continue to get these
Right.
reports indicating what was done, right?
Yeah.
And how much it cost.
And again, Ron, if you go back, this 48,000, I think this is one of the bigger ones. This affects the original. We had 39,800 allocated, so it's about a $9,000 overage on this section.
And this is really all the sidewalks that kind of filter into Washington School, right? All around
And
the
I
perimeter
think
of
part of
Washington.
Savin too, yeah.
I hate to be overly cautious here, but it's actually kind of important. The city's official position, Councilman Quagliani, is there are no sidewalk trip hazards. And it's not to be flippant, that's my legal position with every claim, so I have to make that clear.
Thank you for that, Counselor. I appreciate that, and we want to continue to keep that, but at the end
And
of the
Santa
day.
Claus is helping us pour the sidewalks, just so you know,
Yeah,
that's right there.
I'm with you, I appreciate that, so, but anyway, I'm done, thank you.
I have a quick question about the sidewalks. So a lot of the issues that you run into, you don't really go out and vet beforehand. These are issues you run into as you're doing the job.
Well, we have a very good discovery. We went out and he actually painted every panel being replaced. The guy's incredible. I mean, he's got folders for every single street that we're doing work on. What's hurting us is we rip up a bad panel and the panel next to it cracks or comes up with it.
So it's during the actual job
Drawing
itself.
the line is a problem.
Right.
But the more expensive issue is we have committed to putting in these ADA ramps. By code, there's a pitch that you have to meet coming
Right.
off the sidewalk, and we're finding out that some of the surrounding sidewalk is too high, poured too high.
Right.
So we have to go back an extra 2 feet, pitch that, and that may be a panel in perfect shape, but
Okay.
it doesn't meet code. So that's where the 9,000 comes into play on this invoice.
Right, and you can't look at it and say, it needs this much concrete. You actually have to go out and be in
It's
the
something
middle of
that
the
would
job
be in the
to
field. You wouldn't, I mean, I guess, listen, if you hired an architectural firm for $15,000-$20,000,
Right.
you might get a better discovery.
Measurements, right.
But I'd rather put that money into the project.
Okay.
This is all square footage. Every dollar you spend, you're getting sidewalks. There's no soft costs. There's no,
Okay.
expenses other than the sidewalks.
Okay, thank you very much.
It's a pretty good deal.
All set? That's all.
Yeah.
So, one of my questions, Ken, like I said, 50,000 you think will be enough for now?
It's really an unknown. I think 50,000 will get me through the summer. There's a chance I come back and give some of that back to you. There's a chance I spend it all and come back for more money. But I will always have the proper paperwork. You can visit the site. I can bring you these invoices. I will bring you pictures next time I come. But I think 50,000 will get me through the summer.
Well, I've driven by Washington School many times. They're doing a great job over there.
Yeah, they really are.
They're working on Savin
Correct.
now, correct?
Yeah.
I think it's good, so I'm all for if that's the 50, if that's all you're asking for is for
Yeah.
contingency, then.
I need 50,000
I'm all
to
for it.
feed this guy to not have to stop the job or shrink
Absolutely.
it.
No, I get that. Thank you.
All set?
I'm all set.
Hi, Ken.
Hello, sir.
I need a memory refresher here. So we allocated the 409. Ernie went out, you went out with them. We got the grand list of things. So this is Washington, obviously. So my first question is, how much do we project? Because we all know just how it works in this country. In about 2.5 weeks, we're going to start seeing commercials for back-to-school supplies. And what is our goal before school starts here in terms of percentage-wise?
If we don't slow the process, we think we can knock out 80% of this project before September 1.
Okay. So then that leads to number 2. When does that 409 we allocated, that's where I need a memory refresher here. The 409 we allocated, does that price change when when Elm City's new price changes?
So the way it works is his contract expires, I believe, in November.
Okay.
The city will go back out to bid. He could be a bidder. This project will be done before November, but when he comes back with his bid, it'll be considerably higher than what it is now, yeah. Any concrete we can get in the ground now, you're getting at a discount.
So then, once school starts, our goal is by November 1st to be completely done with everything.
We will be done before November 1st.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. That's all the questions I have. Yep.
Anybody else?
About the sidewalks. So when you do run into an issue, say if you need more concrete put in something or there's another issue of something cracking, does that set you back with the project or? Is that,
Time-wise, not really, because he's there with the machines.
okay,
He's right there, and the way it works, he says, Ernie, come down here. Ernie runs down there, we just lost these 2 panels, or we don't have a pitch. Ernie says, do it now. We're not gonna let him break down, drive away,
Right.
you know what I'm saying? So we do it right then and there. And in the absence of the 50,000, we're just gonna shrink the scope of work.
Okay.
If we have the contingency.
that's what I wanted to make
Yeah.
sure, okay,
If we have, you know, what'll happen is when I hit 409, 540.81.
Right.
We stop.
Okay.
And that'll be 80% of the day.
okay, perfect, thank you.
If you guys approve the 50, the council approves the 50, I can do the whole job, I think.
Great, thank you very much.
Anything else?
No, if not, I'd like to make a motion to take 50,000 and put it in contingency for the sidewalk.
Second.
Any more discussion on it?
Yeah, I do. So we're taking it from the overall ARPA contingency and putting it into the Child Pedestrian Safety Project A2, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes.
Thank you very, very much. Moving on, broadband access. I think I told you last time, I met with Colleen Bailey, got the real deal on the Navigator plan. That plan models a state plan. We think we can service about 88 families with the 100,000. UHY is going to meet with the library to explain to them that there are reporting requirements and train them how to do the reporting. And one of the things we're gonna look at is how do people qualify? So that'll all be part of the ARPA report, and UHY will be down there meeting with them in the next couple of weeks to make sure that goes smoothly. Moving on to windows. Hoffman Architects have been the chosen architect firm. They've already visited the site. We're waiting for a proposal. Once we get the proposal, we'll vet it, ask questions, and I'll have more information for you in the future. Next, A19 cameras. I had explained to the council a few times that I had been given a bunch of information. A lot of it was contradicting, if you will. And with that, I met with 2 police officers. I think it was a Sergeant Thompson and also their IT guy. I forget, his name might have been Matt. Grabbed a camera engineer, went down to the beach, and we came up with a really good plan. There is a bathhouse down there with a security room. We're gonna put what they call an NVR in that room. We're gonna run fiber optic cable under the ground. It's very easy digging down there. And it turns out, every so many yards, there is a call station. Most of them are broken. The ones that are not broken work. We're gonna replace all the call stations, put a tall pole, and hang the cameras off the pole. We think for not a lot of money, we can do from West Walk past the conference center, all the way down to Sandy Hook. That'll work off a Wi-Fi system, and then someday when this fiber optic thing comes in, because I'm using fiber optic cable, they have to buy one inexpensive piece, they put it in the security room, we dump Wi-Fi, and we're on fiber optic. So we feel good about that, the police felt good about that, and we are now developing an RFP for an engineer to put out the bid for an engineer. The engineer will come in, we will explain what we wanna do, he'll develop, or she'll develop the specs, and then we will put that out to bid to a contractor. We think that's gonna happen fairly quickly. So we're very excited about the cameras. And we'll have the whole beach covered, and then we will go to another area once that's done. Last item I have for you tonight are the children's camp. So my understanding is that we have, the Board of Ed has spent roughly $30,000 to date on students working at schools. There was a little back and forth about how they're gonna get paid, and my understanding is that the Board of Ed is gonna pay them and get reimbursed from ARPA funds. And that's something that I had the accounting team work out. So it's all in the up and up. And that's all I have for you.
I have a quick question about the cameras. Do you know about how much that's gonna cost? An
I
estimate at
don't, but I
least?
know it's not gonna be anywhere near the $1 million that we have.
Okay.
And it seems to me that that is the most vital area, or the area of most concern. And we get, not only do we get the cameras, we get the call boxes. So
Okay.
now we'll have, more tamper-proof call boxes. The call
Right.
boxes that have the phone are all ripped off. The ones with the buttons are still working. So we're gonna do, a button call box. And when someone hits the call box, the police can see the cameras and know exactly what's going on.
That's pretty
And all this
interesting,
stuff will record, and they can watch it from the police station.
yeah. Oh. And is everything remotely upgraded, or is that something that has to be done with each camera individually?
When you say remotely upgraded, what do you?
Upgraded, like, does the system have to be upgraded every year?
No. I mean, listen, there's a lifespan on these systems, but, I'm hearing 7 to 9 years on the cameras. I'm hearing, a little bit longer on the
That was my next question.
in
How long?
VR.
Yeah,
But when we get the specs from the engineer, we'll know better.
okay,
But the nice thing is that, the police department can go on, from the police station. They'll have separate monitors as part of the program. They can scroll through probably 60 or 80 cameras, all right? And if someone hits a call box, I'm hoping for a design that those cameras pop up on the screen immediately,
yeah,
and we can see what's going on. I'd like to even do some solar lights that if someone hits a call box, the entire area gets flooded with light. I'm gonna
that's
shoot for that.
incredible, yeah,
Yeah, so we feel real good about that, and I feel good about it because the 2 police officers and the chief were very excited about this plan.
absolutely.
So I'm gonna push hard for that one.
Yeah, we've been waiting a long time for it,
Yeah.
so,
What's that?
I am, thank you.
Any more questions?
Ken, do you have an updated budget, or no? Next
Um,
time?
I have this, you can have, this is, back in the office, I can email this to you guys. So what I did there is I added the different, how we know the jobs is A2, A19, A14, I added that to the project, and that's where we stand today.
Yeah, so the last one I have, the only thing that was, a discrepancy was the CARES Act financial management. I think the council approved 700,000,
You are
and it's
correct.
on here for 800,000.
Yeah, 700,000. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Councilman,
Mr. Kern, thank you so much for your report. It seems like you're doing a great job.
Thank you. Sure.
Letting us know, exactly where things are. I guess the question that I have is, this is complicated, and I know you're doing a tremendous amount of work. Is there opportunity going forward, if there are funds left, to bring forward additional initiatives?
So that's up to the council. So what we have is you have a contingency fund that is going to grow and shrink throughout this process. As we get to the end of this thing, what's gonna come into focus is how much money you have left for those initiatives. It's too early in the process now, and I'll give you an example. We have $1 million in for a field house, okay? I may come back to you and say, council, I need another $1 million. And at that point, you could scrap the project, and that million goes back into contingency, or you could fund the project. So until we, get to those bigger projects, I would hold off, but any money left in contingency, you could do what you want with.
Yeah, I mean, I just really, I appreciate all of the work that's going on and all the suggestions that people have given that got us to where we are right now. And like we said at an earlier council meeting, it seems to me that there's opportunity to kind of meet people that were hit differently in the pandemic than what we've been able to do here. And it's not a criticism of anybody.
Of course not,
right?
yeah,
It's
sure.
not, it's not a negative towards anyone, but it's an opportunity, I think, for us as a council to remember those people and to, commit some funds to helping to make those people whole
Sure.
as much as we possibly can, or at least offer something to make things better.
If you, before you present your concept to the council, if you'd like to speak to the accounting firm to make sure that your proposal is covered in ARPA, I can make that happen as well.
I would love to do that.
Yeah,
That would
just
be
give me a call.
great. Okay, I will do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ken, is there any update on the aid to small business, program?
No, we haven't done much of that yet. We have to really sit down and come up with some applications, and I'm waiting for the accountants to get involved and give us some direction.
I do have a draft proposal I'm reviewing, and I'll get it to Ken, once I review, probably this week.
Yeah, that one's complicated, and, you know, I gotta be careful, make sure we don't.
I mean, I think out of that 400 and some odd pages final rule, I think quite a few pages were dedicated just to that, and the requirements, and it was very specific, so.
And complicated.
Mhm.
Yeah, he should have a draft plan to review by the end of this week.
Thank you,
All set?
thank you.
Ken, I got that, update on the, expenditures, could you email it to either
Yeah, of
me
course.
or-
Yep.
So we got-
I'll email it to the whole council?
Yes,
Please.
please.
Yes, please.
The corrected version, please.
Yep.
Thank you.
You don't, is anyone here opposed to getting emails around midnight? Cause that's
No.
usually what I do.
No.
So- Okay, all right, good.
Not at all.
I don't wanna insult anybody.
May not read
Not
them.
me.
That's okay. Oh, the vac truck. I did forget about that. We have 2 bids, for the vac truck. And what we've done is we've created a spreadsheet of the 18 most important things to the end user. And we are asking each company to provide us more information. And once we get that, we're gonna weigh our options and consider the next step. So we got 2 bids.
And delivery date is in the timeframe of ARPA?
It is, but what we're discovering is that the original bid that we put out, I didn't write the specs, but the bid that went out was for a Kenworth chassis. And we're being told the chassis is over a year, and then the company needs several months after they receive the chassis to build the truck. With that comes a disclaimer that they can increase the price while they're waiting for the chassis, which is problematic, right? So if we consider a different chassis or equivalent and not lock ourselves into the Kenworth chassis, there's a possibility that not only would we pay less, but we would actually have the truck this year. So we're looking at that.
Thank you.
All right. Everybody, have a great night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Okay, council as a whole, communication A4 regarding the stipend for the hazardous pay for the 3 fire districts. I guess everybody got a letter from the chiefs in their packet that the total is 103 firefighters. I'll open up to the floor if anybody got any questions or.
Just have one
Go ahead.
on the resolution. So the total amount would be $1,030,000. So on the first page of the resolution, all the way, the very last line says, funding is provided up to $1.2 million. So I'd like that stricken out, if we could, because it's $1,030,000, right, not 1.2.
Right, that's what was on the old one, the 1.2. I think that was, yeah, that's definitely a mistake.
So I'd just like to delete that line if we choose to move this forward.
You hear a second?
Oh, second. I didn't know
All in favor?
Aye.
Any more discussion on it? Abstentions? Pass, motion passes. Go ahead.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve communication A4 from the May 31st, 2022 agenda regarding Mayor Nancy Rossi's ARPA Community Investment Plan First Responders hazard pay for $1,030,000 to be dispersed to the 3 fire departments.
As amended?
As amended. Thank you.
Any more discussion? All in favor?
I got a discussion, and he has a discussion, so. I just wanna say that, again, we have an opinion from the consultant and the ARPA attorney that this is a valid use of ARPA funding based on the final rule. I think I said last meeting that I can't think of any, any more organic use of the money than actually people on the front lines, fighting, during the pandemic and helping people during the pandemic. I'm in favor of this particular expenditure. Thank you.
Steve?
Thank you, Chairman. I agree with Councilman Quagliani that the money is well spent. However, I do consider it unfortunate that, this is just my opinion, that there wasn't a better plan to begin with, because I firmly believe we're leaving a lot of city workers out of this, teachers, city hall employees that had to come in. I do strongly 100% believe the firemen deserve this, but asking me personally to just pick one and put one life more important than the other, I can't do it, so my vote will not change. It will be no. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any more discussion?
Roll call vote,
Yep.
please.
Beat me to it.
Roll call. Okay.
Councilman Gary Donovan?
Yes.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor?
Yes.
Councilman Ron Quagliani?
Yes.
Councilman Councilwoman Sarah Ackerbally?
Yes.
Councilman Mitchell Galignano?
Yes.
Councilwoman Robin Watt Hamilton?
Yes.
Councilwoman Catherine Tucker?
No.
Councilwoman Victor Vorse is absent. Councilman Stephen Johnstone?
No.
And Chairman Peter Massaro.
Yes.
We have 7 affirmatives.
Hmm.
7 affirmatives. Passes.
Motion passes by majority. Thank you for all for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I know we were supposed to be on a break. We had to get these few items done. And I appreciate everybody showing up tonight. And I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.